you're going to spend your money on anything, it sounds boring as hell, but put it into the best food possible, because literally the food that you're eating becomes you. Think about that. Now then, welcome back, my alpha men around the world. How are we doing? Welcome back to the show. My name is Andy Naylor. I am founder and CEO of Naylor Body Design and host of the Optimal Alpha podcast, and you are very welcome back here. Now, you join us in episode 2 of a 5-episode nutritional series where we're delving into really just the overview of nutrition. We're not going into the depths and the weeds of things, because I already know that people tend to get themselves far more stuck in the sort of details of nutrition, whereby if people just got very good at the basics, they would make a lot more progress. But people tend to, probably because of the internet and all the information that's out there, people tend to get themselves into an absolute kerfuddle and a mess and a minefield over all the different things that they could be doing with their nutrition when they can't even get the basics right. So in the last episode, we had a bit of an overview over calories. If you didn't hear that, I suggest you go back and listen to it. Today, we're just going to cover macros. And again, just a pretty nice, easy overview. And macros, what are they? Well, there's 3 of them. We could say that there are more, but for the sake of today, we're just going to cover the 3. The big 3, which is protein, carbohydrates, and fats. 2 of those categories being what we would call essential, 1 of them being non-essential. So today, we're just going to cover, what are macros? How do we calculate them? And again, how can we use these things, these macros, to make some degree of progress in terms of our physique, our body, our health. So let's begin with a macro. So let's begin with the arguably the king of macronutrients, which would be protein. So protein is essentially then broken down into amino acids. There are roughly 20 of them, and some of those our body can recycle and make themselves, but we need 11. We can then further break down those 11 into 2 sort of subcategories, which you may have heard of. So we've got branched chain amino acids, and then we've got the essential amino acids. Now, branched chain amino acids are just 3 of them, basically. Leucine, isoleucine, and valine. Now, remember leucine, because if protein is the king of the macronutrients, then leucine is the king of the amino acids, basically. So branched chain amino acids, 3 of them. Then we can take that one step further, and we can go after the 9 that we really need in one go, which is the essential amino acids. Now, there are, as far as I'm aware, no real natural foods out there in a singular food where you could go and get all of your essential amino acids in one go. It maybe exists, but to my knowledge, you would have to start mixing different protein sources together to be able to cover them. Hence why supplements are made to try and give us the option to get them all in. So in terms of our amino acids, we want to always be trying to get the biggest blend that we possibly can. Now, leucine being the real important one here. Without leucine, something called muscle protein synthesis, i.e. the creation of muscle tissue, is not going to happen. And I don't know about you, but if you're listening to this podcast, then I would imagine that growing muscle to a degree is going to be somewhere on your list of priorities, even if it's just for health and longevity, or whether it's for performance or aesthetical look or whatever it might be. We all want a little bit more muscle. So understanding getting the right amount of protein, and then also understanding getting the right range of amino acids becomes important. So protein is at the top of the list, leucine being at the top of those. Remember, yes, you can supplement with branched chain amino acids. Yes, you can also supplement with EAAs, but they are great. But you also then above that want to put the quality of the food that you're eating at the top of the list. Now, if you are a meat and a fish eater, then you are going to get it's going to be a lot easier for you to be able to find your protein intake. And I highly, highly suggest, if you're going to spend your money on anything, you spend it on the best quality food that you can, not crappy rubbish food. I mean, high quality, grass-fed, organic, free-ranging food, like the best beef you can find, the best chicken you can find, the best eggs, the best fish. If you're going to spend your money on anything, it's Sounds boring as hell, but put it into the best food possible, because literally the food that you're eating becomes you. Think about that. So if you're eating animals that have just simply not been taken care of and you're ingesting them as raw as we want to think about it, they are becoming you. And if they are not optimal, or they've got, I don't know, things in them, hormones, pesticides, like just stuff in them that you really don't want to be consuming, you've got to really think about that. So before you start thinking about having, supplements, you want to start thinking about getting the best possible quality food on your table that you can. So protein, top of the list. Then we've got, and we would also call those essential amino acids. Those 11 are essential. We have to consume them. Our body can make some of the others, but we have to take the other ones in. That's why they are called essential. Then we move into fats. And again, we have essential fatty acids that we have to consume them. But we can put fats into three categories: saturated, monounsaturated, polyunsaturated. The saturated are generally coming from animal meats. Monounsaturated are coming from things like potentially avocado, some seeds, olive oils, and such. And polyunsaturated are coming from more your sort of fish. And then in terms of the actual essential fatty acids, we can then break them down into things like omega-3s and omega-6s. Now, to my knowledge, most people tend to get plenty of omega-6. It's omega-3 that would probably be the one that you would focus on. But really, you still want to have a reasonable split of these three major fats: saturated, mono, and poly, right? Saturated probably being the one that you want maybe the less of, but they're still required and you still need them. But monounsaturated and polyunsaturated, I would probably have on the higher end. Fats, generally speaking, anti-inflammatory, regulate hormones, control the immune system, control the CNS. Now, omega-3s tend to be a little bit more on the heart health side of things, where your omega-6s seem to be a little bit more on helping immune response, helping inflammation, and helping blood pressure. So you can see immediately how both of these are really important. So you go back a decade or so, and it was everything needed to be the lowest fat-based diet you could get. Whereas that is just not the case. We need fats. They are essential. Our body requires fat intake for our body to work on the things that I've just told you. So that's our second major essential macronutrient: fats. Okay, protein, fats, both essential. Then we've got the one that we would consider not essential, which is carbohydrates. The carbohydrates is everything else: starches, rice, potatoes, pasta. Yes, we could say fruits, some vegetables. Could you live without these? Yes. Yeah, you could. Hence why Atkins, keto diets, and things like that, people could live on them. Will you perform at your optimal? Well, there the question is, what is optimal? If optimal is having the best physique, being the strongest you can be, in my opinion, no. I think carbohydrates are highly needed. A lot of the work that we're doing in the gym is what we call glycolytic work. In other words, if we are doing a repetition over and over and over again of something, we are burning off the glycogen in the muscle. We are not replacing that glycogen. Generally speaking, I tend to see people on a keto diet that just do not look as full as they could do if they had carbs. Now, yes, there are going to be outliers to that. Of course, there are going to be some people who have a keto-based diet and look absolutely amazing. All the power to them. But when you've seen thousands and thousands of people that I've seen, it isn't the most people. Most people perform better with a degree of carbohydrates used in the right way, but they're not essential. And also, when it comes to carbohydrates, we would want to use them at the right times. So when we work with clients, we tend to put our carbohydrates and place them around their training to make sure that their body is going to utilize and partition those carbohydrates at the best place, or into the best places possible. So those are our three major macronutrients: protein, carbohydrates, fats. It is that simple. There is nothing magical about them. But here's where people get themselves a little bit confused. So where do they come from? So generally speaking, carbohydrates come from carbohydrates. They don't really get mixed with anything else. Rice is rice. Potatoes are potatoes. You don't really get a carbohydrate and a protein mixed together. You don't really get a fat and a carbohydrate mixed together, but you most certainly do get proteins and fats mixed together in the same food source. And this is where people get themselves a little bit caught up. Let's take a chicken breast. Generally speaking, it's protein. Let's take white cod fish. It's basically just protein. Now let's take salmon. That could easily be as much fat as it is protein. And this is where people get themselves in a bit of a twist. It's understanding what food contains what macronutrients and then how to use them. And there is nothing wrong with foods that have mixed macronutrients in them. You've just got to know what they are and when to use them. And we're not going to delve any further in that today. But what I will recap at this point is, remember, per gram of protein, 4 calories. Per gram of carbs, 4 calories. Per gram of fats, 9 calories. So when you're building out your nutrition plan, these are the things that you need to pay consideration to. Where are you putting these foods? Do you want to be in a caloric surplus? Do you want to be in a maintenance? Do you want to be in a deficit? Most people are looking to lose body fat. Let's be honest, that is the vast majority of people. So controlling where the fats are coming from is one of the easiest ways to get yourself down into a caloric deficit. So being mindful of just not covering things with avocado oil or olive oil, or having steak that's got a lot of saturated fat around it. It tastes lovely, but yes, it's high in calories. So be mindful and thoughtful. One of the best tricks I can give you, if you are using something like MyFitnessPal to track your food, how about tracking it before you eat it? So rather than eat it, then track it, and then think, oh my goodness, I've just bust my calories for the day. I've wasted another day. I might as well go and sink my head in a pot of Ben and Jerry's. How about weigh your food, track it into MyFitnessPal, decide whether it's going to fit your day, then eat it. But the mixture of these three makes a massive difference. Now, there's a few rules of thumb here, but how can you use these to make progress? So first of all, calories are king. Calories are more important than the individual breakdown of macronutrients, 100%. It's calories, then it's macronutrients, then it's consistency, then it might be timing. You could probably put the quality of food before all of that as well. Rule of thumb. Rule of thumb. Doesn't apply to everybody, but it's a good rule of thumb. 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. 1 gram per pound of body weight of protein. Okay, 1 gram of protein. 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. I think that took me 3 times to say that to get it right, didn't it? 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. So if I weigh 200 pounds, I'm going to have roughly 200 grams of protein. That is a really good rule of thumb. Then, if you've worked out your calories, let's say you've worked out your calories and you're going to want to be, I don't know, eating 2,200 calories, somewhere between 20 and 30% of the calories can then come from fats. Okay, you can work that out pretty easily. Then you're going to have a certain amount of calories left over, aren't you? Yeah, because you've used some calories for your protein, you've used some calories for your fats. You're then going to have a certain amount of calories left over, and guess what? You just fill them in with your carbohydrate. It's that easy. It's that easy. If you want if you want to go further information on that, tag me somewhere in social media and I will give you a little bit more guidance on that, because I do not know you. I do not know your circumstances. I can't sit here and work that out for everybody. Rule of thumb, you work out your calories first. And if you listen to the last episode, I gave you a calculating idea of how to roughly do that. Once you've got your calories, if you know that you're a 200-pound person, you're going to have 200 grams of protein. You're then going to have somewhere between 20 and 30% of the calories coming from fats. Okay. And then the rest is going to come from carbohydrates. And that is a great place to at least start. You start there and then you monitor what happened. And if what happens is the result that you want, you're running in the right place, aren't you? If the result is not what you want, you then look at one thing and you then begin to change one thing, whatever that might be. And ultimately, that's it. Now, we've been helping, I don't know, over the 19 years that I've done this, hundreds of thousands of people in one way or another, through just them watching us through social media, through people we've helped directly. Sometimes just simply realigning their macros and their calories and keeping everything else the same can help people make the biggest of differences. And it is sometimes the most simplest of things that need to be done. So over just 2 episodes, I've given you a real simple, easy, actionable insight into calories. Like, keep them as simple as you can. The same with macros. The simpler you can keep something, the more chance you have of doing it. The simpler you can keep something, the more chance you have of doing it. Don't overthinking. I hope that's helped some people out there today. As always, if you want to tag me on social media, leave me a note somewhere. I will obviously come back and do my very best to help out as much as I can. Remember, also, we are still running our competition. It isn't going to last for that much longer. I'm giving away 10 grand's worth of coaching. Yes, that's 10 grand's worth of coaching. My team think I've lost my mind. 2 lucky winners are going to win the opportunity to win 3 months of free coaching. And that could be you, right? Could easily be you. All you need to do is subscribe to this podcast, maybe download a couple of episodes, give us a 5-star review, go into the show notes, click the link around the competition and enter the form. And I will be picking a winner based on a number score. You'll see in the show notes that you can gain more points by doing more things. Whoever's got the most points is going to be the top 2 are going to win 3 months of free coaching worth 5k each. That could easily be you. Go and follow all the instructions. I wish you all the very best. I hope this episode has been of help. Again, there'll be another one coming up to follow this up very, very soon. In the meantime, guys, get out there, go kill it, be completely alpha every single day, and I'll catch you on the next episode.